President Trump doesn't seem to be toning down his rhetoric in an ongoing war of words with North Korea. The president hosted Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy in the Rose Garden this afternoon. The two leaders held a joint news conference where Mr. Trump thanked Spain for, quote, standing with the United States in efforts to isolate the North Korean regime.
We are totally prepared for the second option, not a preferred option, but if we take that option, it will be devastating. I can tell you that, devastating for North Korea. That's called the military option. If we have to take it, we will. He's acting very badly. He's saying things that should never, ever be said. And we're replying to those things, but it's a reply. It's not an original statement, it's a reply.
Fox News alert now. North Korea on notice. President Trump appearing ready to take action against the rogue regime at this hour, tweeting this, quote, just heard Foreign Minister of North Korea speak at the UN. If he echoes thoughts of Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer. But are Americans ready for military action? Here to weigh in is U.S. Army Green Beret Terry Shepard. Terry, you see where we are right now. We're in unprecedented territory. Some in South Korea are worried, and in Japan they're wondering where this is going. Where do you think we're going with this?
First of all, let me tell you this, Kilmeade. I know you're ducking me in New York, and I'm in an undisclosed location in North Carolina, so you'll see me soon.
Right. I will find you. I know how to, okay?
That's right. I have skills. Hey, listen, nothing should be surprising about what's going on with North Korea. I mean, this is where it was going to be. Victor Davis Hanson, who is one of my favorite writers, a national treasure, wrote an article a while ago talking about what if this is the other way, like America was in control of a rogue state that was belligerent to all of our China's allies, and how long would that go on? There would have been a war already. So, I mean, there's a lot going on. We have the 2nd Infantry Divisions there. There's a lot of conventional forces. But this is good. This would have had to been done sooner or later. And so, yeah, it's edgy and it's a bit scary, but this has to be done. At least in some way, he has to be put in his place.
Right. And right now, if you ask the American people about this, because he does have nuclear weapons, they were asked, and they said 58% favor using diplomatic efforts first, 35% are opposed to doing it. We're at the point now, though, Terry, is whoever was the 45th president would be dealing the same way. But some in the State Department are worried about the bellicose tone of the president. Are you?
No, I'm not that worried about it. Listen, President Trump's going to be President Trump. This is how he's going to be. He's always been this way. I actually kind of filter out a lot of the way he says stuff or even what he says. But you bring a good point. Whoever was in charge right now would have to deal with this. I think President Trump's at least strong stance is the right way to go because it's gotten us nothing to this point. You know, we've placated them. We've played games with them. And we've got nothing for it except more threats to us and, of course, our allies, which are very important to us. And we can't discount that. So ignore the talk. I tell people in the U.S., please just ignore the talk and just watch what the president does. More importantly, watch what our enemies do in response to him. That's what really matters.
Terry, you know, overwhelmed because of this NFL stuff over the weekend, but last week was a great week for the president and making diplomatic inroads with some of the people we need to put the pressure on North Korea, namely China. That's what I sense. He's building up the personal relationships just 8 months in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, here's the thing. China, North Korea has been China's pit bull for quite a long time now. And China knows this. But China also has a good gig dealing with the West. And they realize if North Korea goes too far, that money, that gig, that's going to go away. So eventually this is going to work in China's interest to curb North Korea. And I think, again, people don't realize that part of the world values strength. It values, someone with an iron fist behind it. And before this, we haven't had a president who was really that way.
And I'm glad you put your personal animus towards me to the side to talk about North Korea. Thank you very much, Terry.
I did, Brian, because, you and I are sort of friends, and I want to maintain that.
I know. Somehow, some way, we'll weather the storm. Thanks so much, Terry.
North Korea could try to mobilize its numerous surface-to-air missile systems, but analysts inside the U.S. and South Korea agree even that would be difficult because it's not even clear at this point whether North Korea has the full capability to detect U.S. aircraft.
South Korea's intelligence agency says North Korea most likely failed to detect the U.S. strategic bombers that flew in international airspace off the northeast coast last weekend. The National Intelligence Service says that as the flyover was late at night and unannounced, North Korea might have not anticipated it at all, or it might have been unable to take action as its radar failed to detect the planes. But shortly after the flyover, North Korea did relocate fighter jets to the east coast and strengthened its security in the area. The NIS also said the U.S. disclosed the path taken by the B-1B bombers, as Pyongyang did not seem to have taken notice of the move. It added that Pyongyang was carefully calculating every move and has directed its forces to report first before taking any military measures to prevent the crisis accidentally spiraling into war.
We told you earlier in the program about President Trump's reaction to new UN sanctions on North Korea. He's not terribly optimistic. Tonight, senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palka continues his reporting from South Korea on preparations for a worst-case scenario.
Modern-day war in Korea. Most analysts say if it happened, it would be ugly. Troops fighting for their lives, casualties in the hundreds of thousands, while the world is trying to head off a conflict with North Korea. A new set of sanctions was approved by the UN Security Council.
The United Nations Security Council spoke with one voice again, recognizing the global threat that DPRK, North Korea, constitutes. And these are the most severe sanctions yet laid on North Korea. We'll see what choices the North Koreans make.
One early choice, defiance. A Kim Jong-un regime official said North Korea would fight back against the U.S.
The DPRK is ready to use any form of ultimate means. The forthcoming measures by DPRK will make the U.S. suffer the greatest pain it's never experienced in its history.
As the U.S. and its ally South Korea prepare at least for the military option. This is about as close in feel as you're going to get to war on the Korean Peninsula, at least for now anyway. South Korean and U.S. Marines in a live fire exercise. Machine guns and grenade launchers, tanks and armored vehicles, mortars and artillery. Tightly paced maneuvers through a rugged and secluded firing range in southeastern South Korea. All aimed at a target at the end of the valley. Read that, North Korea.
Sure, a lot of people are focused on Peninsula, but for us, it's business as usual.
Business as usual, but some tough business.
Yeah, the Marine Corps is the nation's 911 force, and we're ready to answer the call.
This is one of several exercises during the year the Marines and U.S. military are involved in here. In part, a show of force. In part, a practical lesson in fighting alongside each other.
We're just out here exercising to make sure that we can react to any situation, any contingency, and work together with our Korean partners.
And if it comes to it, these young Marines, some yet to see action, will know who they can count on.
The Marines that we spoke with told us that these exercises are purely defensive in nature, that they don't pay much attention to the offensive words and actions of North Korea. But many U.S. officials do. No doubt a reason why those Marines are out there. Brett.
Greg Palcott live in South Korea. Greg, thanks.